there's more of us than them too. And, for that matter, who are they, James? Like, it's like the shadow government. Like what we think is running the country is not running the country. I mean, we know that. But what would you say, like, who is the they? Who is behind this and the why? Because they're just raping the earth to get out of here. And then what? Just they're going to live forever, whoever they are. Who are they?
So where did the British Empire go? It was
Right.
the idea that it just disappeared. It didn't disappear. It transmuted into different forms.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at California, for example, a lot of the empire shifted to California. There's no doubt that California is part of the munitions center of the United States and the world in that sense. There was a shift of empire to include California because California was important in moving to the Far East, taking Japan and that. So the empire transformed itself, not just the British Empire, but you can include the Swedish, the Dutch, the French. The elements of the pre-existing elite transmuted themselves into a new form through global organizations. But the British were the best at it. The British Empire were the best. They were involved. They were very successful in industry, in their organization, in their ability to conduct rule or to make rule systems. And so the Anglosphere, as Chomsky said, the US, America, Australia, and New Zealand is still a key part, but has expanded to include satellites, Saudi Arabia, all the elites are brought together in groups like the World Economic Forum, through systems like the World Trade Organization, even things like the European Community, the European Union,
the UN,
Council of Foreign Relations, all the elite. So it's global now. It's no longer a identifiable class. It has to have everybody involved in it.
Yeah.
So they are the people who want power, who can sometimes. There's a lot of gophers. There's a lot of people who are useful idiots. Now they're at this stage they're mainly put into the political arena, and that these are people who are unscrupulous, probably screened to be pathological, that they don't have any, they can test now and identify that people don't have certain qualities, and they're great for doing the job. They can be sucked in, the technicians, the technocrats, and the people who have a very dominant left brain idea, and certain people like predictability. They like so we talked about when you were saying about the uncertainty. There's a lot of people that don't like uncertainty. It's a kind of deep thing ingrained in them. They don't like things to be uncertain. They want the world to be predictable. And I think there's a deeper kind of spiritual malaise that enforces that on the world. But in simple terms, it's the old imperial force that desires to have the master race and slaves in it, and it's in a different form. This was the same movement that was behind Nazism and Stalinism, communism and fascism, which purported to be scientific. Both cases they claimed to be scientific. They claimed to be doing something for evolutionary. It's the same route that took place, or that really came from people like Nietzsche and that. The idea of the Superman and Superwoman. We're going to create the Superman and Superwoman. And if you have things like mercy or compassion, that's weakness. That's a weak. If you want feminine value, we have to eliminate all that unmerciful, and mercy, and that is a compassion are key elements of all the spiritual traditions. So they are those people that subscribe to this agenda of becoming a technocratic scientific elite, and all the groups, not huge amount of people, the people that are necessary to do their bidding.
And the minions.
The minions, yeah.
A few are coming to mind.
Yeah, there's a whole class of them now that will serve the purposes, that will do the bidding, that have no compulsion, no moral autonomy.
Yeah, they sold their soul.
They've sold their soul, and that's a change. It hasn't always been the case that politicians were like that. That is happened in the last generation. I know that quite specifically. I can see the transformation. It was part of the plan, if you like. So It's certainly not. So when people start saying, "Oh, it's the Jews," is this, I don't have any time for that, because there's a very specific analysis about
Yeah.
what happens and about the nature of it. And it's clear, it's historical. It doesn't identify any particular group, save, say, for example, imperial forces, as I do. The scientific elite in Britain, in particular, were important, and that they actually had very close connections with the modern Gates and his family, and it's the connections are there through places like Cold Spring Harbor, through the investigations of DNA. I mean, you can trace it. It's very, very clear. It's not anything which is secret.
And Gates's connection to Planned Parenthood and that
Exactly.
whole
Yeah.
thing, the eugenics program. I mean,
Exactly.
his
It's all there.
father.
Utterly consistent. It's utterly consistent.
And it's right there in plain sight, like you were saying earlier. It's like these people are telling you who they are, and people are just cherry picking what they're paying attention to. Oh, but he gave so much to charity, and it's like, okay.
Here's the point. The last point on that. To come back to the question asked.
Yeah.
More of us than them. I've come to the conclusion that there's not.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's not. No.
Oh, no.
Because people have made choices.
Yeah.
And are making choices.
Yeah.
They're choosing, in my view, I'm not talking about, I believe hell is of your own creation. Most hells are of our own creation. That is a reflection. And this process continues after that. And put yourself in a place where you won't go anywhere from it. You won't let go. So that many people are choosing the roads to whatever way you want to call it, spiritual perdition, whatever way you want to put it. They're choosing that. You cannot not be yourself. The flower cannot refuse to blossom in a way. It's our spiritual nature. We have to go through that spiritual efflorescence, life and death, but we do have to go through a process. It's what the spiritual journey is. So if you say, no, I believe in that, no, what we're doing is outsourcing our individual autonomy. And when you do that, you are literally possessed. Now, it doesn't have to be by demons or whatever, but you're possessed by an ideology, by a force, by a technology, by someone else's viewpoint, by their viewpoint. And if you allow yourself to be possessed, you cannot be yourself. So possession is not just about a demonic force. It's any force which relinquishes your totality of your mastery of your own self.